Welcome to today's reading for the Oxford Dreamline. The Oxford School District reminds you that great books are a passage into our dreams. Now for today's reading.
Hi, my name is Amanda Bennett. I'm the librarian at Della Davidson Elementary. Today I'm reading for part of the Oxford Dreamline, and the book I'm reading is called Her Right Foot by Dave Eggers. You have likely heard of a place called France. If you have heard of France, you may have heard of the French. They're the people who live in France. You may have also heard of something called the Statue of Liberty. Did you know that the Statue of Liberty comes from France? It's true. This is a factual book. One day, a Frenchman named Edouard de la Boulaye had an idea. The idea was to celebrate the 100 years the United States of America had been around by giving them a giant sculpture. So he convinced another Frenchman, a Frenchman with an Italian last name, to design the sculpture. This artist's name was Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. Bartholdi designed the statue. He first made very small models of the sculpture, then larger ones, and finally one that we all know, which stands 305 feet above the water. This final full-size version was covered with a thin copper skin. The skin is about as thick as 2 pennies. This is not very thick. Here's a rendering of Bartholdi and his team. He had a team. He did not like to work alone, constructing the statue's hand. Notice that the hand is bigger than these men. Thus, they made the statue in parts. These parts were assembled in New York City. No, wait. First they were assembled in Paris. Did you know this? Ask your friends and even your teachers if they knew that before the Statue of Liberty was assembled in New York, she was first constructed in Paris. Your friends and teachers will be astounded. They'll be impressed. They might think you're fibbing. But you're not fibbing. This really happened. The Statue of Liberty stood there high above Paris for almost a year in 1884. After they assembled her in Paris, they took it apart. But we just put it together, the workers said. That is absurd, they said. They said all of this in French, the language of the French, a people who appreciate the absurd. In 1885, after they took it apart, they put the parts in 214 crates, put the crates on a boat. The boat was called Isir. The boat traveled over the Atlantic Ocean and made its way to a city called New York and a state called New York. Hundreds of workers, perhaps 214 of them, took the pieces out of 214 boxes, then began to rivet the pieces together. Assembling the statue took 17 months, and it all happened on what they called Bedloe's Island. Bartholdi liked to see the sculpture rise above the harbor. Sometimes he watched the construction from the water, sometimes he watched it from the land. Usually he was wearing a sturdy black hat, for he, like most European men of the time, favored sturdy black hats. You may have noticed by now that the pictures of the Statue of Liberty in this book have her color brown. You may have thought the illustrator of this book was not so good at his job, because we all know the Statue of Liberty to be a certain greenish blue, but the Statue of Liberty was made of copper, and copper starts out brown. Then very slowly, when left outside for long periods of time, copper will eventually oxidize, and when it does, it turns a blue-green color. So the Statue of Liberty that everyone in New York saw being constructed was actually brown. The Statue of Liberty, in fact, was brown for about 35 years. The statue turned green around 1920 and has been this color ever since. Perhaps you already knew this. And you may even know that the book the statue is carrying, the one in her left hand, features the date July 4th, 1776, on which the Declaration of Independence was signed. And you may know that the 7 spikes on her crown represent the 7 seas of earth, the 7 continents, and the sun's rays too. And you probably know that the torch she carries is a symbol of enlightenment, lighting the path to liberty and freedom. Then you might have known that at one point, Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb and the record player, once proposed to have a giant record player inside the Statue of Liberty. He did. He wanted the statue to be able to speak. In the end, though, this idea was considered a bit strange and was not pursued. And did you know that the interior of the statue was designed by another Frenchman by the name Eiffel? That's right, the same Eiffel who, a few years later, would design the Eiffel Tower. And did you know that while the statue was being constructed in Paris, a bunch of Parisians, mostly riders, they like to eat, actually dined in the area just below the statue's knee? This is true. While the statue was rising, Bartholdi set up a lunch 4 stories up to impress riders and enthrall these French riders, who, being difficult to impress and enthrall, were at least mildly amused. But there's one thing you might not know, and this is the central point of this book, a point the author apologizes for taking so long to get to. The point is that even if you have seen a picture of the Statue of Liberty, or many pictures of the Statue of Liberty, or even hundreds of pictures of the Statue of Liberty, you probably have not seen pictures of her feet. And even if you have seen pictures of her feet, you probably have not seen pictures of the back of her feet, particularly her right foot. That's right. She's going somewhere. She's on the move. Let's pause here and collect ourselves and think about this. Let's discuss this. Let's think about this and discuss the fact that this is the largest sculpture in all the land, the most iconic symbol of the United States of America. Let's talk about the fact that the statue has welcomed millions of visitors and immigrants to the United States. People talk about her unusual headgear. They talk about her gown, which seems very heavy kind of garment, and will likely result in serious back issues. They talk about her beautiful torch and the severe look on her face. But no one talks about the fact that she's walking. This 150-foot woman is on the go. Every time we see the Statue of Liberty in pictures, or any time we imagine the Statue of Liberty, we see her standing still, very still, well, like a statue. But she is moving. She weighs 450,000 pounds and wears a size 879 shoe, and she is moving. How can we have all missed this? Or even if we saw this and noticed this, how is it we have seen and noticed a 450,000 pound human on her way somewhere and said, just another 150-foot woman walking off a 150-foot pedestal? And most important, where's she going? Is she going to Soho to get a panini? Is she going to the West Village to look for vintage Nico records? No, she's facing southwest, so she's facing New Jersey. Could she be going to Trenton? Wait, no, she's facing southeast. So she's not going to New Jersey, but she's going somewhere. But where? Why is she moving? There are certain things we know. We know that around her feet are chains. They are broken chains, implying that she has freed herself from bondage. We know that Bartholdi wanted us to know this. He wanted us to see the chains. People have talked about the chains. But few talk about the foot that is so obvious in mid-stride, about the fact that her entire right leg is in mid-stride. What does this mean? What does this mean that we often forget about this right foot, this right leg? Here's an idea. Here's a theory. Here's a reminder. If the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of freedom, if the Statue of Liberty has welcomed millions of immigrants to the United States, then how can she stand still? Liberty and freedom from oppression are not things you get or grant by standing around like some kind of statue. No, these are things that require action, courage, and unwillingness to rest. The Statue of Liberty was not built to welcome just 1,886 immigrants from Italy on a certain Sunday in, say, 1886. No, she was built to welcome 3,000 immigrants from Poland the next day. The next day, 5,000 Norwegians. After that, 10,000 Glaswegians. Then Cambodians. Then Estonians, Somalis, Nepalis, Syrians, Liberians. It never ends. It cannot end. After all, the Statue of Liberty is an immigrant too, and this is why she's moving. This is why she's striding. In welcoming the poor, the tired, the struggling to breathe free. She is not content to wait. She must meet them in the sea.